Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. We are finally jumping into Mando Season 3. So, a lot of cool things on this episode. A little bit of a slow start, but it's building up to a lot of cool things. So, let's go ahead and jump in. What'd you think of this episode?
I loved the start, but because we are doing this later than the season coming out, for example, when I was watching it again today, I was a bit shocked where we left things off because we saw a lot of the story of Mando in actually Book of Boba Fett as well. So for
That's
our
right.
listeners, we should definitely say that they should check out the Book of Boba Fett and then the episodes of the podcast where you guys talked about it.
Totally
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Yeah, when I was watching it today, I was like, this is not where we left things off. In Mandalorian season 2, we left things off with Luke taking Grogu and leaving, and then all of a sudden everything has changed. So yeah, that's where we see Book of Boba Fett is at least 3 episodes long with the Mandalorian.
That is true, because there we learn about how he got the new ship and how Grogu returns to him.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yes, I totally forgot about the confusion there. So, yes, go back to Book of Boba and you'll find out the in-between, season 2.5 is what they called it.
Exactly. And the episode is called, the first episode of the season 3 of Mandalorian is called The Apostle, and you will get the reason why he is the Apostle in Book of Boba Fett as well. So Mando is currently basically excommunicated from his I don't even know what to call them. A cult?
We'll just call it the way that Bo-Katan calls it, a cult.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's an apostate now, so that's a lot of fun.
Exactly.
And I find that whole ritual thing like stupid, to be honest. Take off your mask, you're now kicked out of our cult. It's like, okay, well, you guys are a little crazy anyway.
Yeah, that makes zero sense. But again, there is a lot of things that don't make any sense in terms of cults in real world as well. So no judgment.
Definitely in real world, it's extremely crazy. But at least in Mando, I'm pretty sure the only reason why they don't do the helmet thing is mainly just because to protect their identity.
I mean, could be, yeah.
But I mean, if they never take off the helmet anyway, so it's not like they only have one identity anyways.
Yeah, it's just, for example, are the families allowed? For example, was it Paz Vizsla? His son.
Paz Vizsla, yeah.
Yeah, Paz Vizsla's son gets initiated. So does he get to ever eat dinner with his son again? Or is that just like out of the question?
All right, family, we're having dinner. Everybody go to your room.
Yeah. Everybody find a rock, hide behind it.
Basically. Tilt your helmet up just a little bit, just so your mouth is showing.
Yeah.
But actually, speaking of his son, it's actually cool that we get to see like their kind of initiation into their cult, or their group, I should say.
Yeah.
Exactly. I actually thought it was a flashback in the beginning when I first saw the episode. I thought it was just a flashback to Mando when he was being initiated.
Oh, okay.
That was my first thought back then.
I mean, yeah, that could work. Because we don't have a lot of signifiers of the time in that. So, why not?
Yeah. And I
Apparent.
believe Andor started before this, so we got used to flashbacks. And then Mando comes out. It's like, oh, flashbacks.
Yeah. Apparently, the actor who plays the kid is Jimmy Kimmel's nephew.
That's
I
right.
When I saw his face after that information, I was like, "Oh my God, he is a little Jimmy Kimmel. He has that face."
Now, does he have the humor? That's where it goes.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, well, we see the initiation, and then there is this huge monster like thing, and the initiation gets interrupted, but we see Mando coming in to save the day. So he is there to learn how he can redeem himself and what he has to do. And he also saves the initiate. And that also puts him in a good term and in better terms with the rest of the Mandalorian. So that is an important thing to see for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I thought it was like really cool because like I'm used to seeing like Mandalorians fighting in like the Clone Wars. So it's really cool to be able to see them like kind of band together in a live action setting.
Definitely.
And it's just really
Definitely.
funny because you got these little guys running an army like and they're using their flamethrowers, shooting their blasters, and it's like, okay, nothing's working, guys. So Mando just comes in. It's like, okay, well, you guys are not really doing a good job. Boom, boom. All right, 2 shots with my ship, and the beast is done. It's like, you guys really couldn't handle this? Come on.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he is the Mandalorian, right? We should not forget about that.
That is true. That is very true. And I do remember, what was it? John Favreau did say Mandalorian is also plural. So,
Ah, is
but I
it?
mean, hmm
Ooh,
but
that
I
gives a lot of. Okay.
yeah no, Sam and I were talking in Andor because the finale that we did, Cassian wasn't really in it much, but we're like, okay, well his mom's last name is Andor, so it kind of focused on her a little bit more than him on that episode. So I was like, okay, it still makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they made it work.
That's cool. I mean, that also gives a lot of context to the fact that our focus switches to Bo-Katan for a
hmm
lot of the episodes as well. So if it is the Mandalorian in terms of plural, then it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because it started. I believe it started off with just Din Djarin, like focusing on him, and then they just kind of expounded on it, and just it's like, okay, let's do more Mandalorians. This is the rise of the Mandalore.
Hmm. Yeah, and then in that after the initiation scene, we see the armor, and Mando talks about his plan to I don't know
To
the
go take a bath,
exactly. Yeah, that one.
and she's like, well,
Um,
oh, and we learn a lot about Mandalore at this point too. We find out about how like we know about the Purge, but it's
uh-huh.
crazy now that we get to see a little bit more of it to the point where it's like, okay, well, you're an apostate now because you took your helmet off, but you can't redeem yourself. So because Mandalore is pretty much a deadly planet, so kind of in a catch-22 here. And Mando's
Yeah,
like, no, that ain't gonna stop me. I'm gonna redeem myself, and sets him off on a new quest.
exactly. And in true Mandalorian fashion, the quest first starts in Navarro. And the good thing
You
is
always got to
now
visit Grief Karga first.
yeah, exactly. And right now we are doing this episode after Ahsoka's first season. So while we were actually watching season three when it came out, it was the first time we saw the Purgles in live action in the hyperspace lane. So that was a cool
Yes.
thing to witness.
Yeah, because Grogu was just sitting there fascinated by him. He's like staring at his window. He's like, do. Hey, oh, space mouse. And his eye just kind of like grew big. I'm like, oh, because I knew at this point, I was like, okay, so we're getting the Purgles. I don't know if they're just trying to tie in Rebels, but we got Ahsoka now, and we know what's going to happen in Ahsoka. And so
Yeah.
before Ahsoka even came out, I was like, they're gonna be using the Purgles for something. So they're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
get all the fans to be used to them at this
definitely.
point.
Yeah.
That way, it's not a
Uh,
big surprise in Ahsoka.
it was one of those things that I internally screamed at. I was like, "Oh my God, Ezra!" Just seeing a whole bunch of space whales and screaming Ezra in true Star Wars fan fashion.
I did find it really cool because I do like how they did the space, how they actually introduced them through the hyperspace.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kind of blended in, but it was very, very cool the way they did it.
Yeah. I mean, as per usual, for casual viewers, it was basically a cool detail to put in the universe. There are other things in the hyperspace that goes in the they does jumps and so on and so forth. But for us who has watched basically everything in the visual media, we were like, oh, okay, this is the start of something much bigger.
Yeah, because here we find out about Moff Gideon,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, okay, what happened to him? All right, well, he's been taken for trial. It's like, okay, yeah, sure he is. And
Exactly.
because I mean, at this point, everybody was like wondering if Moff Gideon was going to be like the main villain for season 3, but it was very like up in the air. And they kind of mentioned him in this, and then they kind of did the whole space pirate thing, and I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a good point with the space parts to go because when we go into Navarro, we see a lot of new things, and the credits should go where it's due. The costumes and makeup are insane in Navarro. Grief Karga's new getup, the space pirates, everything that made that planet livable and like a part of the universe, the details, everything looked amazing.
Especially compared to first season. So you can see all the work that they're doing there. And Sammy, if you're listening, you'll be happy because I liked a lot of the architecture and that they did, like the way that they did it all. And Sam
It,
loved to talk about architecture in the Andor episodes, so it's a shout out. But yes,
it,
the way that
yeah,
the set designs and everything, like I'm really impressed with the vision that they kind of put here on Navarro.
definitely. It did not look like a set piece. It looked like a living, breathing, lived in place. It gave so much life to the background of the Mandalorian.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really funny that these pirates want to sit there and have a drink at a school. It's like I just thought it was funny that they're very insistent on that. And Karga's like, nope, not happening.
Yeah, this establishment is a school now. Yeah,
Like,
that
well,
was
all right, well, bring me a drink then.
mm.
He's like,
the
well, get out of
the
here.
the character design of that pirate reminded me of Davy Jones
Oh,
from
the
Pirates
one
of
in
the
space,
Caribbean.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, Pirates of the Caribbean, not off to these band of
Exactly.
ruffians.
Yeah. The it one thing. So the pirate ship and the captain was very Pirates of the Caribbean-esque, but the ship itself was very Kree from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh
When
yeah, yeah.
when I first saw the ship, I was like, "Oh my God, this would be Ronan the Accuser's ship. You can basically switch those two." I mean, Favreau being Marvel related, I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if they used a very similar design.
Well, I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean and Marvel owned by Disney, and Star Wars is owned by Disney, so I'm not surprised that they're doing some nods to the other projects.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we are in Navarro. Why are we in Navarro? Because the Mandalorian wants to revive IG-11 because that's the
Who,
only android that he trusts.
which also blew up to pieces. So I know a lot of fans are having some issues with them finding all the parts that he had, but I'm pretty sure he just kind of exploded and became a bunch of small pieces. But I mean,
Mhm.
the way they designed it in their first season, I'm sure here they could easily explain that they just found the parts and similar parts and found the memory core and stuck it in all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
have too much of a
and
problem with it because I thought it was cool seeing the droid back.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it was a very cool side character. I mean, we have to have a droid sidekick, right? So IG-11 has to
It's
come back.
it's the Star Wars way.
Yeah, this is the way.
This is the way.
And of course, to repair RG-11, we go to some technicians, and I am not sure if that was confirmed, but is that Babu Frick? Because that's the same species, right? And the way he talks, I was like, oh, okay, that's the same guy.
So funny thing is, those that is not Babu Frick, but it is voiced
Interesting.
by the same person that did Babu Frick in the movie.
Okay.
So basically, all of her production sounds that she had done for Babu Frick were they saved them, and
Ah,
so some of the clips that didn't make it into the film, they just placed it here in the episode.
all right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So you are not wrong that it sounds like Babu Frick because it is the same voice actors.
All right. Then, yeah, we then go into the space battle sequence, which was, I think, really well done as well. It was a good nod to the movies before. Yeah. And then we go and see the ship. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was say yeah, we got kind of a lot of diversity in this episode. Like we from seeing the initiation of Paz kid to Mando showing up, and then learning about him being apostate, and then jumping to Navarro. Like a lot of jumping around, but it
Yeah.
flowed very smoothly.
Yeah. I would say that this was definitely an episode that was designed to bring us back into the universe, back under the Mandalorian title, and then to just get us where we're supposed to go. Because there is always, like, when you especially switched, like, Mandalorian season 1, Mandalorian season 2, then Book of Boba Fett, and then Mandalorian season 3, there was a lot of things to be gathered under one roof again. So I
Yes,
think that's why this episode was also, I think, relatively short when you compare to the other episodes. And I think it was just basically not a filler, but to bring us back into the Mandalorian universe and not just um straight up continue from where Book of Boba Fett left off.
definitely, because this whole episode seemed more like a build up for the whole season. It's like okay, we had all these projects here. Now it's time to return to Mandalorian. So that's what I thought was really cool because when you get to see the armorer making the helmet and everything on the wall, you see a Beskar head of the mythosaur.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people that are not familiar with that creature, it's taken from the comics. It's the mythosaur is a kind of like a mythical creature to the Mandalorians, and it's kind of something that they kind of like. I'm not sure I'd say worship, but more like a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And there used to be tons of them, and especially in the mines of Mandalore, where Mando is destined to go take a swim. That's where the mythosaurs originally were until the first Mandalorian, their first Mandalore, which is the title of their leader of Mandalorians, drove
Mm-hmm.
them all out and killed them, and they became extinct. So at this point, they don't exist, as far
Yeah.
as we know.
Yeah. But there is a legend, like, once the mythosaur is back, Mandalore will be habitable again or something like that. Like, there is something that I can't remember correctly, but there is a legend that makes the
It'll be a sign.
exactly coming episodes a bit also more important when you put it into context.
Yeah, because like the subtle things that they do to kind of set things up. It's like they put that on the wall, so you're kind of like familiar with it. So when you get into another episode, it's like, oh yeah, I was wondering what that was on the wall, because they do explain it later. And even on the little piece that Mando brings, the armor smith,
Mm-hmm.
the little shard, there was actually an inscription on there, and I don't know if anybody noticed it, but it's actually from the King James Bible, Exodus 10:5-6. That's
Yeah,
what was inscripted on it.
I put it there as well. There is a Bible reference there. I mean, I'm not very familiar with it, but yeah, it is apparently with regards to the like Egypt, and
Moses,
that's yeah.
yeah. So it's very interesting, and so it's kind of another like little foreshadowing of what's going to be happening, because while the Mandalorians are not enslaved at this point, they are basically kind of roaming the wilderness, as you would say. And so it's either Mando or Bo-Katan is going to be their Moses that's going to bring them back to their promised land, back to
Yeah,
Mandalore.
exactly.
So I like the use of symbolism that they kind of threw in there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It gives you a lot. It's something very small. It is not something that a lot of people would notice. You would have to put a lot of attention and research behind it. But yeah, it's basically giving us a trajectory for a few characters and what's going to happen next.
And where the season's going to go is all basically there, which is cool.
Yeah.
So people that actually didn't catch it, or people that aren't crazy like me that have to Google things just to kind of see what Easter eggs I missed. That's why we're here. That way you don't have to do the work. We got you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we are here.
And I really liked going back to Navarro and the pirates there, Vane. I liked how he was challenging Grief, calling him soft, and they're establishing another story arc here with these pirates, because we do see
Yeah.
them later on in the season, and Grief does like the little Western duel, which I thought was really cool,
Yeah,
and Mendo's just kind of hanging
definitely.
back. And so I know, because Star Wars is a space opera, but it's kind of a Western too, and so I liked how they brought in a little duel.
Yeah. I have, though, I've been wondering because now that Carl Weathers passed away, I wonder
Yes,
what is going to
sadly.
happen there. Yeah.
I think what they'll do, kind of what they did with Cardoon, is just kind of
Mm-hmm.
reference the character,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they're going to do something that's going to be very attribute to him. So they might just do something that's like, oh, Griff Karga went and did this, or he retired, or he did.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do him a good honor. I'm hoping they do.
Yeah, I hope so too. It is so sad. It is basically, I mean, with Ahsoka, we don't have a character there anymore, and then here in The Mandalorian as well. And these are very it's not just like side characters, they're actually very central to the story and the characters in the universe. So it is going to be interesting to see how they are going to handle that.
Yeah, it's these characters will be missed from these series. So
He was very prominent in the first season and also in the third as well. In the third one, he was
mhm.
also there for 4 episodes. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, there is nothing we can, it's not something we can guess and or theorize about, but yeah, we'll
We'll
see.
just say he's going to be greatly missed. He's
Yeah,
really great character.
definitely. All right. And then we finish the episode by paying a visit to the one and only Lady Bo-Katan Kryze. And
Yes.
yeah,
She doesn't seem very nice at this point.
Mm-mm.
She
No.
seems very bitter. Like, because coming from like season 2 and Mando getting the blade, and they kind of ended it off with them kind of like on a standoff. So I was thinking there's gonna be a little bit more to this. Like she was gonna follow him and her band of Mandalorians, but
Yeah.
they basically just kind of like, all right, well, Mando has a sword and he's part of this cult, so we're not gonna follow him. And Bo-Katan, you failed your mission, and that's the only reason why we're with you. So we're gonna take it out of here too. So Bo-Katan just becomes a loner.
Yeah, she does. And what is very surprising to me is that they very much stuck to her character growth, because it was very easy to actually get a big conflict out of these two Mandalorian and then turn it into Bo-Katan versus Din Djarin and even milk a season out of that. But they actually stuck to Bo-Katan's character development from what she has seen, from what we have seen about her from the Clone Wars until now, and she actually did right by her people and by the rules, which was very surprising to me.
Yes, but they did it so well, like you said, because she's just like, well, I've got nothing. Mando, you go lead the Mandalorians then. Just wave the sword and they'll obey you.
Yep, exactly. And she didn't, there was no funny business. She was like, I did not earn this. I will not take it when you offer it to me because I did it like that once and we know where that got us. And yeah, so I was very, very happy that they did not go back to that path, but they actually let her character grow and evolve and learn from her past mistakes.
Yes, very much so. And it's very interesting because like the way that she talks about Mandalore too, it's like she's on the planet, I think Caladan, which I believe is the palace that her family, that Satine lived in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's their family house. So it's cool that we got them coming back there.
Yeah.
And interesting because she used to live on Mandalore too. So it seems fitting that Mando is the one that coming asking about the pools down on the planet. It's like, okay, I gotta go take a swim to redeem. And she's like, forget about your cult. And she's like, honestly, she's like, during the purge, where were you guys? And now you want to come be part of it. It's like, get out of here, go home.
Hmm. Yeah.
And Mando's like, nah, I'm gonna go take a swim. And it's also
Yeah.
very interesting because Bo-Katan's sister, and she's like, there's nothing magical about it. And she kind of talks about kind of like the symbolism of it, but she's like, but nothing magical is there. So it's like bathing in the pools is going to do nothing to you other than just some silly ritual. She's like, that planet is ravaged, plundered, and poisoned. But Mando's
Definitely.
very defiant, and he's like, nah, I'm going to prove to you that we can live down there. He's like,
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
I think he is also, because he took off his helmet to say goodbye to Grogu. And that was a huge step. And it was basically, when you think about from his perspective, unnecessary. But he took a step to show that he is not just this strict like the armor, but malleable in certain senses. And but he was still also, I did this because of emotional reasons, but I have to now go back to my origin, and I am not going to move from that way because these people are also my clan, my family. So I find that also he knew how to compromise, but now he's like, okay, this is how I was raised. These were the people, I was a foundling, and these were the people who raised me, and I will do right by them and our traditions as well, which is, I think, a great sign of character from his side as well.
Absolutely, because to him, they're the real Mandalorians. Bo-Katan is just some random person claiming. Because I remember, like, when they first met, he wasn't even sure. He's like, "Well, you guys have your helmets off, so how are you Mandalorian?"
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
And that's kind of what got him questioning to the end of season 2, where he's like, all right, for Grogu, I'll take it off because maybe it is like a family thing. Like maybe families do get to take their helmets off around each other. And since this was the last time that in Din Djarin's mind that he was going to see Grogu, he probably felt it appropriate, even though it was breaking code because other people were around.
Could be. That's actually a very good point. We should definitely pose this question to someone that might know. Is our families, Mandalorian families, allowed to take off their helmets in front of each other? And was that a sign of Mando and Grogu already being a family?
It doesn't give any specifics on it, but it does say that a Mandalorian cannot remove his or her helmet in front of another living being.
Okay, so droids are outside of that, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's why IG-11 was able to treat him and everything.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I'm looking on a Reddit page right now. They're like, so after a long day of work, they can get home and take off their helmets with other members to the family with them or in the house. And not really much on it, but basically it's just just in front of another living being, you can't do it. It doesn't really say anything about family. And it's only to the children of the Watch. So obviously only Mando's people follow that rule. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, I thought there was a lot of stories coming together, and also the fact that it was a relatively short episode. But yeah, the rest of the season will be packed with a lot of good action and a lot of good storytelling.
Yeah, like I agree. This episode was very slow, not really much going on, very short, and a lot of nods to a lot of familiar faces. And just a lot of build up for the rest of the season. So there really wasn't too much that we haven't discussed already that stood out to me, but not even a lot of Easter eggs, but it was still really fun to get back into the Mandalorian universe. So
definitely.
All right, so this is going to be one of our shortest episodes, guys, but hey, you've been listening to about an hour and a half for the last 5 episodes, so we'll give you a little break this time. But definitely come back next week. We're going to jump into season 3, episode 2, and it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of cool things are going to be happening, and Mando's going to get another droid. He didn't successfully get IG-11 because he has to find a memory core, but let's see if he's going to find it. But so we'll see you guys next week. And just remember, always jump down into the link down in the description where you can find our Discord and our Instagram pages and to check out our cool merch. We've got tons of t-shirts and a lot of cool Black Series stuff. So take a look at it and we will catch you guys next week. May the Force
be with you
always.